I love morning. I've never been a morning person, and it's like Wednesday night's always the night that we all go out. And I remember, I think it was Luke was an MC a few years ago, and what he did was he did a push countdown for how many hours of sleep that you guys had. So the lower, the better. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to call anybody out being recorded or anything like that. But I'm super grateful to be speaking to you guys. I'm grateful that you're here. I think it's super badass that we got a crew of the amount of people that are here and the amount of growth that we have as an entire organization. And I just think it's great. I think that when you're growing whatever 8 million or whatever it is in some of these divisions by 100%, Cavalier division, shout out to these guys. Amazing stuff is happening and you guys are committed to growth. So yeah, I think that's awesome. If you want to give yourselves a round of applause, it's cool. So yeah, my objective here is just to kind of give you guys what I feel are some of the keys for me selling a lot of sets, kind of my 20%. So a lot of guys on my team know I'm all about the 80-20 rule, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I'm going to give you guys some nuggets. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of having a foundation before you even can go further into script or approaches or whatnot. And then I'm going to go through a few sections of my approach. We'll give you guys some key phrases. We'll talk a little bit about closing. We'll go through kind of like qualifying, a creating interest section in my approach, the demo, and then of course, closing. So as far as like foundational rules, I think that before you can even go, anywhere with anything, selling at a high level, selling is an energy sport. Home shows, running events it's all about your energy, right? You're transferring your enthusiasm or your energy to your customer. And if you don't have energy, you're not going to be very good at it. And like whether it's been long days or a couple bad customers that you start the day off with that are frustrating or whatnot, it gets really hard to give your best to the customer, to be present. And I think that's a huge key. So, I'm not going to give you guys any diet or energy tips, but for me, it's been a ketogenic diet and having that energy. And then also being very intentional when I go into my shows to know that I'm going to be present and then I'm going to have that energy. But if you don't have energy, it doesn't matter how well you know your scripts, doesn't matter how well you guys are closers, doesn't matter any of that. None of that matters because you won't have, the energy and the ability to transfer that enthusiasm and your sales skills to your customer without that. The second thing, there's been a lot of mentioning, there's been a lot of talk the last 2 days on scripts or not scripts, the psychology of selling and what that has to do with the relation to scripts, right? We've talked about Brandon and Kareem talk about the psychology of selling and not having something necessarily specific that they follow. They're masters at the game, which is awesome. And then you heard Curtis get up here last night and he talks about you got to be on a script. So, my opinion is along with Curtis's, but I also agree with Brandon and Kareem that mixing it in there, mixing in psychology of selling really helps. But you got to start somewhere, kind of like what Bert was just saying on the business, right? You want to emulate what they were doing years ago, not what they're doing now to build your business. It's the same exact thing with your skills. So what I would say is you got to start off with a script and then you can move on. I think Josh calls it, he says to memorize, internalize, and then personalize. So if you're trying to skip the first 2 steps of memorizing and internalizing and you just go to personalizing, you might be missing a few huge key steps. So I'm just going to ask the room, how many of you guys are on a new customer script? Somebody's right now. Like how many of you guys have a specific script that you follow that if I asked you to spit it out right now, you would have the exact words that you say? So I'd say about half the room, right? Or people just tired arms. But then I would ask you, right? Well, how many of you guys are in Curtis's approach? Sweet. So some of you guys, this is going to be like, I'm on Curtis's approach. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I'm sure there are other good approaches there. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Curtis's approach and my version of that. But I would ask myself now and as you guys go home and work on things from the net meeting, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel like you're at on your new customer approach. And I'm going to tell you guys why that's important. So I got a few things that I want to cover on just the psychology of selling sets and kind of where I'm at with that. But we'll talk about the 80-20 rule. So 80-20 rule, how many of you guys are familiar with the 80-20 rule? 20% of your outputs or inputs create 80% of your outputs, right? So 20% of the things that you do create 80% of the whatever. So that might be 20% of the things that you say at the booth create 80% of your results. It might be 20% of the customers that you work with create 80% of the CPO. In my mind, new customers, when I was starting with a blank slate and trying to up my skills and my ability, I started with new customers because I figured, look, your average order with a new customer is probably going to be higher than it is with a Cutco owner. So this is a 20%. When I look at my show results, it doesn't always work out to 80%, but I would say that 20% of my orders are new customer sets, and it creates about 50 to 75% of my CPO at a show. Now, that might be an identification for me to be a little bit better with Cutco owners or whatnot, but I'm going to focus on new customers, again, for the reason that Curtis was talking about last night. With new customers, that's how you create past customer business. And I rather spend my energy and time and focus on new customers that I'm framing their mindset on Cutco. These are the easiest upgrades, Cutco kitchen upgrades and stuff like that in the future. This is when you get to create it versus a customer that's been trained by a college student or an old school show rep that's been buying buy two, get one frees for 10 years. Who would you rather work with, right? So I want to work with my customer that I sold a galley set to last year that knows that they can upgrade to a signature set this year. So that's been my focus is new customers. So that's kind of what I'm going to do for you guys here is kind of give you the 20% of what I do that I think creates 80% of the success when selling sets. So where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? So if you focus on new customers, you're going to create a lot of that past customer business. You're going to also be excited to talk to new customers. It's going to be a whole different new energy. And it's easy to get frustrated when you're focusing on all the wrong customers. How many of you guys go through a show and you're getting beat up and it's a bunch of small orders, small orders, small orders? It gets frustrating, right? But I don't let that bother me because I know when the right customer comes up, the right new customer, the right prospect, and the right situation comes up, that my skills and my focus and my energy will all translate to bigger sets, and that's what's going to create the bulk of my CPO at events. So another thing, going back to Curtis's script here, you guys have heard this, it's been said already at the conference a couple times, find the master, follow the model. Find the master, follow the model. This is going to be like a little pitch for Curtis here. This is like a little mini, and I remember Seth giving the upselling talk a couple years ago and saying, hey, this is just my version of Josh's talk. This is like my version of Curtis's approach, right? So I really like, Curtis is like the Harry Potter of Cutco. I don't know if you guys have seen him at the booth or cross train. It's wizardry. It's just straight wizardry. You just watch him do something, and it seems so simple, and the customer walks away with a signature set, and you're like, what just happened, right? So I don't know if you guys know this, but I'll just tell you, I did a little research before I did my talk, and Curtis was first in the company in galley sets. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because he was the #1 rep, but he was first in galley sets, second in homemakers, first in Siggies, and third in ultimates. So if you were to follow somebody's new customer approach, whose do you think it should be? There's no raps against anybody else. I'm just saying that's a good place to start. So I encourage you guys to steal. I encourage you guys to steal what other people are doing and copy it. It's okay. That's what I've done my entire career, and I'm literally like, my success is riding on the coattails of Josh and Curtis and Brandon and Jason and all these guys. So, I think those are some important psychology tips. So, going into the approach, like I said, I kind of broke it up into about 4 different sections: qualifying, and then the intro or the interest creating phase, and then demo, and then closing. So for me, we've also heard a lot this weekend about kind of qualifying or who we should talk to, who we shouldn't talk to, or how maximizing each customer that comes to the booth. I'm a big believer in qualifying. That's just my take on it. I read a quote by, or a Facebook post by Gary Vaynerchuk the other day, and he talked about, He wishes this sales tactic was talked about a lot more in the business, but he says, stop trying to sell the unsellable. Start the interaction with unbelievable optimistic attitude that they'll buy. But once he figures out that they're not, he does not put any more energy into them, right? And he would move on to the next person that is going to buy. So I would ask that question to yourself. Are you figuring out, do you know, are you skilled enough to understand and to know whether they are sellable or not from the beginning as much as you can? So Grant Cardone says, treat every buyer like a buyer and they'll become a buyer. I believe that. But once you recognize that they're not a buyer, why are you going to waste your energy? I cross-train or have some reps cross-train with me and whatnot, or working with other reps, and they go through and the customers are head nodding the whole time. It looks good. They're ripping the approach. They're killing the demo. They get to the end and they're like, oh, sweet. Can I have a card? And they just walk away and they're like, turn around to me and like, what happened? I'm like, well, they weren't ready to buy in the first place. Like, you didn't even have a conversation with them about where they were at identifying those things. So you guys have heard some of these. Bert even talked about them in his rapport talk yesterday. But my go-to qualifying questions, of course, are you familiar with Cutco? You've heard that said multiple times this weekend as well, or this week. One that I always go to, hey, so are you looking for a good set of knives, or are you just looking? And I know sometimes that can come off abrasive, but it's just a smile. It's low key. It's casual. I'm not attacking the customer when they come up to the booth. I'm not, just bulldozing and coming on. Hey, are you looking for a good set of knives? Or are you just looking? And then you get those common reactions. Yeah, actually, I've been thinking about it, or I'm always looking for a good set of knives, or no, just looking. And they're just, the knife nerd that's pulling it out, the old dude that thinks, that his uncle's makes knives and whatever, and he's just pulling stuff out. So I don't want to waste my energy on that. And, if you say, have you heard of Cutco, and you want to go right into it, then you're just going to waste your time, appeasing to some dude, with all the specs. Do you know what kind of steel this is? Do you know what angle this is at? It's like, dude, just get out of here, right? So after that, so I say, hey, so you guys looking for a good set of knives? You're just looking. What time? Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So what kind of knives do you guys have at home? I ask right there, right off the bat. I want to know exactly what situation I'm at. What kind of knives do you guys have at home? And then I'll ask some type of question that's like, how do you like them? If they don't tell me right off the bat, sometimes they're like, oh, we got like, I don't know, some like cheap brand and they suck, and they go on and they tell you. If they don't tell you, oh, we got Farberware, oh, we got Chicago Color, or we got Wussoff. Then I ask, cool, how do you like them? And if they say, oh, we really like them, I'm like, awesome. So what brings you to the booth? If they tell me that they really like them, like, I want to get out. It's not just qualifying. I'm not trying to, only pick off the customers that are coming up and wanting to, like, already wanting to buy. I'm trying to get them to also clarify their own problem, which is going to help me close. So why do you like them? If they say that they do like them, sweet. What do you like about them? Awesome. Okay, cool. So what brings you to the booth? Are you just kind of like, curious, or, have you, would you consider kind of adding some stuff to your set or checking out a different thing? I'm trying to get that out of them. They're like, yeah, and then it depends on where you go from there, right? So I want them to tell me some type of problem or opening to where then I know I can spend some time with them and, go from there. And then I also ask, so if they say that they are in the market for knives, or they have been looking for a good set of knives, I want to know how long. Did they just come up with that like right now as they're walking by the booth? Or have they been searching for knives for 6 months? I'm going to know right off the bat, are they familiar with high-end stuff? Have they been looking at Williams-Sonoma, Crate and Barrel? I say, how long have you been in the market for a good set of knives, or for a set of knives? And they tell me, oh, we've been thinking about it for a few months. I'm like, cool. What have you guys done? What have you guys checked out so far? And I'm asking them this right after that. What have you guys checked out? Oh, nothing much, just like Bed Bath & Beyond or blah. Or they say, yeah, I've been to Sur La Table, Crate and Barrel, blah. Then high quality, they got the money, and now you just got to explain to them, right? Or if they like high-end stuff and they just kind of stroll by and they're interested and they haven't been in the market but only for a day, where to go with that, right? So that's kind of those are my go-to qualifying questions. And then, of course, later on, I want to know who does most of the cooking. Do they make the decision? Does anybody else need to be here would anybody else influence this decision? Does anybody else need to be here that would be influencing this decision? And I want to know that right off the bat before I even, spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes with them so that I can focus my energy on the right types of people. All right. So key phrases. One thing I love about Curtis's approach, it's so low key. You nail so much of the information in literally like 30 seconds right off the bat. Cool. So once they tell me all those qualifying questions, we start off and say, cool. Well, would you like to know a little bit about us and kind of who we are, what we're doing here at the event? Super low key versus just plowing them, right? And then I'm literally going to fly through this because you guys should just get his approach and go through it. But a couple key phrases. 0 foreign products in any of the knives, flatware, or cookware that you see on this table or at this booth. 0 foreign products in any of the knives, flatware, cookware that you see at this booth. What I like about this is you're plugging flatware and cookware right off the bat. I'm talking mostly at selling block sets, selling sets of knives, but selling sets, right? Whether it's flatware, cookware, or block sets is going to create a lot of that CPO. So I'm plugging that right there. A lot of people want to know how long we stay sharp. So a lot of people want to know how long we stay sharp. Our knives actually stay sharp for around 7 to 10 years before they start to dull. But once they do go dull, because of course all knives go dull at some point, we'll come out to your house and sharpen them for you. We sharpen them locally, or you can send them back to the factory for full service for free. Now, we're very expensive, but we're Consumers Digest Best Buy, Reader's Digest Best Buy, and we've been the #1 selling high quality cutlery brand in the US for the last 30 years. So you just drop an expensive Consumers Digest. This is super quick. That's like basically the approach right there. 0 foreign products, been handcrafted up in New York since the 1940s. A lot of people want to know how long we stay sharp. Consumers Digest, now we're very expensive, right? And then this is another key line in his approach that I love, that I think that even if you're on his approach, you should focus on this question and what you're looking for here, which is, now, I don't know if you're looking for a good set of knives or not, but our motto at Cutco is we want you to get a full set of knives and then never have to worry about it ever again. The key question here is, now, I don't know if you're in the market for a good set of knives or not. I'm looking for head nods. I'm looking for verbal cues right here to know where they're at. Because if they're not head nodding, saying, or that they're not kind of like, yes, I'm in the market for a good set of knives, I know I need to do a little bit more digging, a little bit more qualifying. I want the customer to tell me that they're ready to buy, right? Like that they're in the market. They're at least open to considering. I want to find that out or bring that out of them as soon as possible. So do you mind if we show you a couple quick, demonstrations on the way the Cutco Edge works? Great. How many of you guys cut leather? Some of you guys I know cut leather early on. I think that's useful for certain scenarios for sure. Like right off the bat, hey, here, let me show you this quick demo to get somebody to come over that's maybe on the run or something like that. But when you cut leather, how many of you guys have junk knives at the booth, or what kind of serrated edge knife are you using, right? Curtis talked about having he had a Capital Grille steak knife, and he used to talk about how expensive that Capital Grille steak knife was. What I went and did was I went online, Amazon, and I bought a Wüsthof serrated utility knife. The prices range anywhere from like $55 when they're on sale up to like $75. But I pull out essentially a brand new Wüsthof serrated edge utility knife. And most people are like, hey, are you guys familiar with this brand? Yeah, super high quality. This is the top selling brand in retail stores. It's been around for a couple 100 years. And this is going with Pato's thing about competition. You guys have a lot of Rhineland Hammerstall. This is just like a side nugget, but Rhineland Hammerstall, so on and so forth. Those guys claim that they're made in Germany. I think we're all pretty sure that they're not, right? That they say German steel. So what I say right here is, see, these guys, Wüsthof, legit, been around for 200 years. It's made in Germany. Just a little tip, and I'm saying this to the customer, just a little tip. If you want to know if a knife's high quality and really made in Germany, it will say made in Germany right here on the blade, just like this. And I don't say anything else, but then if they go to the Rhineland booth or the Ram, or they've been there already, it kind of gives them a little idea right there of what they're working with. But I want to cut with high quality. I want high quality customers. I want to be, and then if they're low quality and they've never heard of Wüsthof and you tell them it's a $90 knife retail, that's just building value right off the bat, right? So I would say invest in a Wüsthof knife if you haven't. And then how many of you guys cut the leather more than once? Okay, so Curtis teaches us to cut the leather once with the Wüsthof knife, once with the Cutco knife, then 2 layers, then 4 layers, and then 8 you take it and go 8 right on the cutting board. If you're not doing that, I guarantee you're losing set sales right there. This is like the wow moment where the customer freaks out and they're pumped. And it also explains obviously how the double D edge is different from a serrated edge. So you got to do 1, 2, 4, 8. So you cut, one layer, 2 layers, 4 layers, and make them do it. The customer's like, no, I get it. No, come on, you got to do this, whatever. And then 1, 2, 4, 8 on the cutting board. As you're explaining, so this is going on kind of to the demo here, obviously, right? So now, like I told you, Mrs. Jones, those stay sharp for like 7 to 10 years. But a ton of customers come up to our booth that have had them for 20, 30, 40 and tell me that they've never had them sharpened before. And this is when I show them the happy customer list. So if you have a happy customer list at the booth, instead of just saying that, show it to them. Hey, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and these people have never had them sharpened. Now, obviously, Mrs. Jones, they probably should have, but our knives go dull so gradually that they don't notice it. So I can't promise you guys 20, 30, or 40, but the average is 7 to 10. And then that's where the guarantee comes into play. And then you nail the guarantee. Double the edge, sharpen it for you for free, 7 to 10, or send it back. But it doesn't just cover sharpening. So you guys get the guarantee. And then plugging in some of these lines that Curtis just gave us yesterday is going to be money for these areas right here. I've heard Curtis talk a lot about how important it is to also cut with a straight edge. What I love to do is I haven't moved on to cutting the leather with the salmon knife yet, like he does now. But a straight edge through a potato. And then once they get done cutting it, so of course, one of the key questions is, here, go ahead, put the point down, pull through, tell me if this is sharper than the knives that you guys have at home. They do it. And then this is where I'm gonna do a whole Brandon imagine if point. Hey, so Mrs. Jones, that was awesome, right? Imagine if every single time that you go in the kitchen, you'll have a set of knives that cut like that. Not just for for the first couple months or even couple times, but for years. And then when it goes dull, you don't have to worry about coming out shopping for a new set of knives ever again. You just send it back to the factory, put a brand new edge on it for you for free. You're just painting that picture, you're identifying that pain point, you're kind of pulling that in. And then shears. So for Curtis's approach, boom, intro, quick, demo, double D edge, straight edge, shears, high quality. This is a point where I'm like, hey, I point out that we're high quality but low maintenance. Take the shears, come apart for easy cleaning. They're dishwasher safe. That's another great thing about Cutco, Mrs. Jones, is we're known for being high quality but low maintenance, unlike the other high quality brands where you have to hand wash them, hand dry them. You can't let food sit on them for longer than 30 seconds. All of our knives are dishwasher safe 100%. So you don't have to worry about that. Cut the penny, of course. And then a huge part for selling sets is the set intro, right? The menu when you go through it. And what I say is, hey, we have 4 major sets that we offer here at the show. So what I'll do real quick is I'll give you guys a brief 1-line description of our 4 most popular sets. You guys tell me which one best fits your household, or if you'd like to look at something different. The first set's our basic set. It's nothing fancy or gourmet. It's the set that most Cutco owners have. We've been presenting it since 1949. And then we have our customer requested set, which has been our most popular set now, our newest set. Comes with all your customer requested knives and the basic stuff. And then we have our complete set, which is the set that everybody wants, but not everybody can afford. It's got everything that you'd ever need in the kitchen. We kind of joke and call it our buy once, cry once set. And then our last package, or our last set, is our Cutco kitchen package. And this is for our customers that are looking to knock out, everything. And we'll bundle our knife sets with our flatware and our cookware. And you're dropping Cutco Kitchen. There's a couple things going on there. Of course, when you add that Cutco Kitchen package in there to be presented, you're going to sell more sets. You're going to sell more Cutco Kitchens. You're presenting everything to be higher there. So then going into the close. I'm not going to do any closes or anything like that, but a couple of tips on selling a lot of sets that have to do with the close. Number 1, Kelly's talk yesterday, amazing on price positioning. Once I converted over to selling at full price at the booth, I sell a lot more sets. There's a couple things. Your average order goes up because you're selling higher. You're selling at a higher price, number 1. And you have more room to drop down, so you're selling more sets as well. So definitely sell at full price. A couple other things. I'm going to work on this more this year to not sell customized sets. But a key, if you need to drop down from a customized set, a lot of times what I'll say is, we do have a special here at the show, Mrs. Jones, where I can customize these last 3 pieces in a homemaker for you. and I do a builder, and I don't know, this is like an old school thing that we used to do at the booth, but you sell a builder, galley or homemaker builder, where the galley stays the same, and then you bonus the. It's not a builder, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, you can customize the butcher knife, the carving knife, and the shears. And the big sell is here. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I can swap out this fork for the shears. The shears are an additional $70 value, but I'm not going to charge you for that here at the show. It's just $12.73, but we're going to make this set perfect for you. You'd agree that, you know, these first 7 knives, you definitely use those, right? Or 7 pieces, you definitely use those, right? Great, awesome. So then we drop a couple of their, you know, favorite knives in there that would work in those other slots. You get a lot of customers, right, that say the objection for, hey, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all. Some people talked about that at the objection handling thing. So I kind of relate to him there. Hey, I get it. I totally get it. You want the biggest, the best. That's great. And then the line, I don't remember who said, but I think it's great. Hey, I can't afford a wardrobe, so I'm not going to buy a coat. Doesn't really make sense, Mrs. Jones, right? So most of my customers would agree with me that having a handful of really high quality knives is better than having a full set of junk at home. Would you agree, Mrs. Jones? Awesome. So do you mind if I show you something smaller? And then I'm always explaining the upgrade. So like, I'm not afraid to show them smaller options, but let them know that they can upgrade. I want them to be comfortable getting a set with me at all, whether that's a showstopper set or a galley set, and then letting them know, hey, no big deal. You guys want that. I know you want that signature or that customer requested set. I know you want that signature set, but you know, you guys can get started with this. And what we'll do is we'll give you full retail towards, you know, for what you own, not the sale price that you guys are paying today, but the full retail value off of the larger set when you're ready to do that, whether that's 6 months from now or 6 years from now. So do you mind if I show you what comes in that, right? Customers that say, I wouldn't use those, or, oh, all I need is blank or whatever. A good demo that I like to do is I'll have them cut the leather again really quick with a trimmer. So that's a sharp knife, right, Mrs. Jones? And then I'll have them cut the potato. Not as good. And then I'll have them cut with the cheese knife, right? So a lot of times if they object, like they don't know about the cheese knife yet, super simple sale, but that's also right where I'm going to tell them, hey, so there's nothing wrong with that trimmer. That trimmer's awesome. You guys just cut the leather with it. It's great for, you know, excess fat off of chicken, tomatoes, smaller fruits and veggies, but the right tool for the right, this is about having the right tool for the right job. That's why we recommend blank, whatever set. So wrapping up, guys, that's what I got for you. A couple questions that I would have for you guys is, what's the 20% of this message that you guys are going to focus on that's going to help you crush with new customers? And then the last parting thought is, the difference between the average and the above average in this room is the speed of implementation. So if you guys look at Josh, you look at Curtis, you look at Jason, they're always implementing new stuff. And the people that are following their coattails, that are on their tail every year, are the people that are taking this information from this event and implementing it the quickest. You can't implement it at all. So I'd encourage you guys to look at your notes and do an 80-20 analysis and figure out what you think is the 20% that's going to create the 80% of your results. Thank you, guys.